I know the title is a little dramatic. I know. I'm sorry. I didn't know what else to call this. It felt like the most apt thing for it. And also I have a theater degree, so I can be a little dramatic sometimes if I want to be. Huh? Hi, Pepperoni. Hi. Hello. It's been a while since I've done a little like sit down video like this. It's kind of strange. Yes, my love. Feels kind of weird, but also kind of good. Also, hey, if you're new here, hi. My name is Cheyenne. I am an internet art person, and then I make art on the internet for a living. And I've recently had a really big revelation about my art that was kind of embarrassing and shameful, and it felt important for me to share it with you. So that is what I am doing. This is going to be kind of like a video podcast. I'm not going to have any like important inserts on screen or anything, but you know, you can put me on if you need to do laundry or your dishes or anything like that. Also grab yourself a cuppa. I'm literally just drinking hot water with lemon juice in it because I'm very stiffly. Pepper, I swear to God, come here. You can hang out, but you gotta stay down here, okay? This video was supposed to be about me getting back into merchandise design, of all things, because I have recently made the decision to change my entire like business model, as it were. For like a quick little catch up, I closed my online store back in January of 2021 because I had essentially gotten to the point where I was having the really great problem of having way too many orders to fulfill as like one person. I was essentially just running myself into the ground to get products ready, and then also running to myself into the ground trying to fulfill everything. And I was very stubborn, and I didn't want to use a fulfillment service because I was like, I want everything to be handmade and I want it to be done by me. As a result, that was really unsustainable. That was super unsustainable. And so in January of 2021, I basically had this like big mental breakdown, and I was like, okay, well, I have to close my online shop now. So I closed my shop in January 2021. And then in March or April of 2021, I started doing monthly rewards on my Patreon because I was thinking about how to supplement my lost shop income. And then also I was thinking of it as a great way to essentially force myself to have a regular art practice because I would have to be putting out these stickers and these postcards every month. Cool? Great. Great plan. It has been almost 4 years since then, and I am now making the decision to switch back to my old formula because now this one has become unsustainable. I talked to my mom about it, and we were kind of going back and forth, and we discovered that I tend to constantly fall behind on my monthly rewards with my Patreon now. I usually have a hard time getting them done until it's like already halfway through the month that they're supposed to be going out in. And it was also this thing of like, I just dreaded drawing. I was just not excited about it. And so as a result, it took me forever to like actually get around to designing the rewards to send out. So we decided to switch back to my old business model, where now I'm going to stop offering monthly rewards on my Patreon come 2025. And instead, I'm going to be kind of switching my brain to get back into designing product for my shop, designing product for my online shop. So getting back into designing stuff like notebooks, notepads, stationery, expanding the kind of merchandise I make. So stuff like desk mats, like actual maybe like sketchbooks or apparel, just kind of broadening my horizons. And I was going to make this video as kind of like a little vlog, a little follow along to essentially show how weird the process is of getting back into merchandise design after having not occupied that space for a really long time in my head. Because the thing about product design is that it is so different than just doing like regular illustrative work. Same thing with like thinking about branding and stuff. And so I wanted to make a video talking about how fun and weird that process was. And then I had recorded this like cute little talking head segment for it and everything. And in that talking head segment, I talked about how I had been looking at my old sketchbooks from around that time because I kind of wanted to see what I was up to and what I was doing. Then I recorded B-roll of me opening said sketchbooks. And I opened up a sketchbook from I think like mid 2020 to early 2021. And I said, damn, shit, what happened? Because I very suddenly saw with just like crystal clarity, I could see how much fun I was having in that sketchbook, and I could see all the like fun exploratory work I was doing, and had this huge kind of overwhelming realization that I haven't, hi baby girl, I know, hi. I hadn't felt like that in a very, also Pepper, I have to use my mouse, I'm sorry. I hadn't felt like that in a super, super long time. I was like, oh, my work has been so stagnant for so long, which is why I'm so dissatisfied with it. I also realized in that moment that I had neglected the art goals that I had set for myself back then. Those had completely evaporated into thin air. And I was just like, it was like I just got hit in the face with the realization that like, oh shit, my work is really stagnant. And it has been for a really long time. Something has been bothering me about my art for a while. And now I knew what it was. Now I could put a finger on it. And then I was like, oh, so that's why drawing and sketching, I've been dreading it and not enjoying it at all because it had become so boring. It had become so boring because I just hadn't been making any forward progress. And so I was just kind of like, okay, well, shit. There's no way, no wonder I'm having such a hard time trying to get back into product design because I don't know who I am as a creative. I don't know I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I'm doing. I was like, oh God, oh God, oh God. Before we get further into this, I do need to say a very quick thank you to the sponsor for this video, Skillshare, because they have been helping in this endeavor. I always felt like your creative identity, your style, whatever, was something that would just kind of evolve and emerge over and over again, like throughout your creative life, where it's something that just kind of happens as you make bodies of work, as you make a body of work, your style emerges, blah, blah, blah. Easy breezy. That is not the case. Obviously, it is something that you have to like actively cultivate, whether you like it or not. And Skillshare is a really great asset in helping you do so. If you do not know, Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by industry professionals across all kinds of industries and fields like design, photography, time management, even running a successful freelance business, doing sewing, crocheting. And they also do have quite a few classes about finding your kind of creative voice, finding your confidence in your creativity. I have recommended this class before, and I'm going to recommend it again because I am literally retaking it. Feels important to mention it again. Find Your Style, 5 Exercises to Unlock Your Creative Identity by Andy J. Pizza. I love Andy. I love his podcast, Creative Pep Talk. I have actually been on an episode of his podcast, which was really cool. He has ADHD, like me, and I love the way that he talks about this kind of weird amorphous nature of the journey of finding your creative voice. I love how he solidifies it and puts it down into very actionable little tasks and exercises. And he has, I think it's in one of the middle lessons, but he has this line where he talks about doing these exercises before you feel you're ready to. I know that he's right, and it just feels bad, but I know he's right. And so I've slowly been trying to put together my like Pinterest board of my like taste and my experiences and stuff that he talks about. I love that class. I love Andy. And I'm going to do my best to conquer my fear and do this thing that I'm really scared of, but I know it's super important lest I be stuck in artistic limbo forever. If you want to join me on this weird little artistic journey or potentially like hone some creative skills or craft of your own, the first 500 people to use the link in my description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So join me and let's figure this out together. Thank you, Skillshare. So as I was saying, I had this revelation and I was like, oh no wonder every time I go to draw, it feels so bad. I knew that I wasn't liking what I was doing. I was having a hard time figuring out why I wasn't liking what I was doing. The specificity of where the root of my discomfort and dissatisfaction was coming from, finding that root was very useful. This stagnation has led to my daily drawing practice completely just dissolving and disappearing. I do not draw every day. It's very easy for me to go weeks without drawing at all. And I have found creative fulfillment in a lot of other ways, like I said, with like sewing, knitting, crochet, pottery, like random little crafts, beading, whatever that I find that I get into. But the thing is that at the end of the day, the drawing is the whole thing. It's kind of what my whole entire everything is based around. It's kind of what I built my YouTube on. It's what I built my online store on. It's what I've built everything around. And I know that I still want to do it because I have this, this boredom and this stagnation and fatigue around it or whatever, but I still have the thing of like, I want to get back to the way things used to be. So I know that I'm not ready to throw in the towel yet on this whole like illustration thing. So I know that I need to prioritize a daily drawing practice. Again, number one, I need to make sure that I'm putting pen to paper every single day or stylus to iPad, what have you. There's also the weird thing of being like a content creator who makes art for a living, and that art is not only the thing you sell, but it is also the thing you make content about. And in my ideal world, I just make art. I happen to make content about it, and it just kind of like feeds into this nice, neat little Ouroboros loop. And that is so obviously not how it works for me because I have ADHD and time blindness, and my days seem to literally just like melt away from me sometimes. I often get saddled with this feeling that like drawing isn't important enough. I feel like if I am not drawing for a specific task or a specific reason, like for my Patreon postcards or what have you, drawing feels like a waste of time, which is so silly because I know that in order for me to do the like drawing with a purpose pieces, I need to kind of keep those muscles warm, or else every time I go to draw that thing, I'm going to be miserable because it's going to be like pulling teeth because I have to like scrounge around in the depths of my brain to try and find an inspiration or idea. And so as a result, I get through like barely a sketchbook a year if I'm lucky. And all of those art goals that I set up for myself have completely fallen to the wayside, and they don't get anywhere because I'm not practicing every day. And I know that maybe this is like a very obvious thing, and it's like, yeah, duh, Cheyenne, that's what it means to have an art practice. This is what it means to be an artist. I'm processing stuff, okay? I'm learning things. I'm discovering things in real time. I'm being vulnerable with you. I was also thinking about, in looking at my sketchbooks, I was thinking about when I started my sticker shop on Etsy back in 2017, I started it because people said that they liked the doodles that they had in my bullet journal. And I had always been drawing in the sides of like my scripts and stuff. I had always kept some kind of sketch book that I would be like idly drawing in. I was never trying to I was never trying to get better at something. It was more or less honestly just to keep my hands busy in class so that I could pay attention in the roundabout ADHD way of paying attention by doing something else. And once I started my sticker shop in 2017, I was like, ooh, you know what? I'm not satisfied doing just like sticker sheets. I was like, I want to do more. I want to do more complete pieces. I want to do pieces that like tell a story or that have something going on. And I feel like I went into the next 3 years with this like really intense desire to improve and to get better at this thing. I feel like I hit a certain place in 2020, 2021, and then I just kind of plateaued. It was like I was kind of at my threshold for learning, or it's like I had pushed me out of myself out of my artistic comfort zone just enough. I didn't want to do it anymore. So I just kind of stopped actively trying to improve, and it shows. I also want to make it clear. I don't think my stuff is bad. I am not trashing my own work. I think the stuff that I make is good. I can recognize that. I do not think that I am bad at what I do. However, I am bored often by the things that I make. And I can see that my style has grown over the last few years. I can see that my taste has grown, but my technical skill, namely the two big art goals that I remember that I wanted to get better at were I wanted to get better at anatomy and I wanted to get better at landscapes. I have gotten marginally better at both, but my handling of the human body is still so basic, in my opinion, and I'm not able to do the fun, funky compositions that I want to do because I don't want to take the time to learn the fundamentals. But the thing is that I need to. The same thing with landscapes. I remember I was so inspired by Danielle Bennett's little like gouache studies that she was doing of landscapes, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. And I was like, oh, but I am so afraid. I'm so deeply afraid because it makes me so sad because I feel like I've just lost a lot of time that I could have used to make some really fun, cool stuff, which is always a bummer. But it's also the thing of like, I am forever and always haunted by my perfectionism. My perfectionism ruins a lot of stuff for me, not just in terms of like my drawing. It ruins so much. It really it causes me to stress myself out to like no end. I like actually think I'm currently getting sick because I've been stressing myself out needlessly so much. Every time I do anything, whether it be a video or a post on Instagram or like a new thing that I'm doing for Patreon, whatever, anytime I create anything, I am always going into it with the thought of like, this has to be the best thing I've ever made. This has to be the best thing that I have made to date, or else it is not worth my time. Because what is the point in doing something if you are not always improving at it? What is the point in doing something if you're not good at it? It's that thing of like, well, I'd rather not do it at all than do like a mediocre job at it. I try to keep the mantra in mind of like, done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. But I don't always listen to that voice of reason, which is very annoying. When I was younger, and I still think like this sometimes, I remember being so confused by the thought of people enjoying doing something that they are not good at. That idea was like unfathomable to me. I was like, how can you possibly have fun at something if you're not good at it? If you're not excellent at this thing, then why would you have fun doing it? Because the fun comes from the being good, right? Right? I know that that's like such a bad way to look at creative pursuits. It is the probably one of my most toxic kind of like thought pillars that I have in my head that I have tried and failed to break down, but I will keep trying because I know it's like Jake from Adventure Time says, sucking at something is the first step towards being sort of good at something, which I know rationally it's so easy to say and so hard to internalize, but I need to internalize it or my perfectionism is going to put me in an early grave. I just know it. So it's a matter of figuring out how to get back to the joy. And I think drawing every day would be a good way to find my way back to the joy. I think taking more classes could also be a great way to learn. I think of how much fun I had doing like Sophie's Scribble Brigade stream. Like that was so much fun. And I feel like I learned a lot. And even though it was really uncomfy, I was still able to kind of like push through because I was following along with something and I had someone else with me, like helping me along the process, which is why I'm also potentially tempted to get into like figure drawing classes. This is a very isolating job. And I think that another way I can probably help myself is just make art with friends or with other people. But then the fear becomes of me falling into the comparison trap, which is almost worse than the perfectionism one. They're both bad. There's a lot of healing that I need to do. Clearly. It is also at times like these that I get really self-conscious because, like I said, I have a theater degree. I didn't go to school for this. I went to school for acting for like 12 years. I went to a magnet high school and then I went to university and got myself a BFA. The only times I was drawing was in my free time. I was drawing in my free time. Like I said, I was drawing always in like the margins of my scripts. I was drawing during class, during lecture and stuff. I didn't take any like fundamentals classes. I didn't develop a practice then. And so now I feel like I'm kind of floundering because I'm missing out on all the stuff that everybody else got to be like coached through. I know that art school has its like own issues, but there are times where I wonder how different things might have been for me had I gone down that route. But I was so locked into acting because it's like I really do thrive in a structured learning environment when someone else tells me the clear expectations and the clear deadlines and the clear things of like what needs to happen. Which is pretty much antithetical to what I am currently doing with my career because now I'm the one who has to do all that stuff and I'm not good at that. I'm not a good person to put that authority into the hands of. It's like, oh, I want to be so carefree and whimsical and like, oh, I don't care about my art. It is what it is. I'll let it be. But then the other part of me wants to approach it with like great intention and great purpose because if I don't approach it with intention and purpose, then it doesn't go anywhere. And I'm learning that I have no middle sliders at all. I am either at 100% where I am thinking about something all of the time. I am devoting all of my energy to it. I'm devoting all of my thought, everything to it. I'm like running myself into the ground, working on it, thinking about it. Or it simply never crosses my mind. There's no middle slider. It's like I'm an episode of Monster Factory. There's nothing in between. And so now I'm like, okay, well now I have to figure out where I have to figure out if I have a middle slider / where it is / how do I access it? And it is so, all of this feels embarrassing because it feels very obvious, but it's also one of those things where, the solution seems obvious once you find it, but the finding of it is the hard part. And so I wrote here in my notes, I said, so in trying to get back into the fun world of merch design, I've instead been confronted by the terrifying truth that I've lost touch with my creative identity. And I am now a stranger to myself in that realm. I also wrote this, which I also like. But hey, at least now I know what I'm looking for. I've been fumbling around in the dark for what feels like this entire year, plus some. And now, as scared as I am, it's nice to know which way I need to point my torch. So at least I have a lead now to follow instead of wandering in this miasma. So that's kind of it. I don't really have like a neat and tidy conclusion to this. I know that I need to draw every day. I need to look into taking more classes. I could probably start by just doing more of Sophie's scribble brigades and working my way through Andy's classes on Skillshare. I've also started doing morning pages or like daily journaling pages again, because I tried and abandoned the artist's way last fall. I got about a month in and then I was like, I can't do this. Like I said, no middle sliders. So it was just kind of consuming me fully in a very not good way. So I abandoned the artist's way, but I do remember the clarity that I had at that time of year. I remember I made a piece during that month that is to date one of my favorite things that I've made. And I think it's because the artist's way did help me find kind of like clarity in my creative desires and identity. And so I'm hoping that if I just get back into the morning pages and the weekly artist dates, I can potentially unearth some of that clarity again. And I don't actually always do them in the morning. Sometimes I do them in the evening or in the afternoon, but I always try and get those 3 pages done at some point during the day. So in conclusion, I am terrified and embarrassed, and what can we ever do but keep moving forward? Ugh. Okay. If you are still here, thanks for listening. Thanks for making it this far. Thanks for listening to my ramblings and my musings on my creative inner world. And I don't know, maybe it gave you some ideas or something. Maybe not. But hope maybe you were able to get some laundry done in the meantime. I do also want to say thank you to my patrons, my beautiful, lovely, wonderful patrons whom I love so much. They are so patient and they are so kind and they are so encouraging. And I just think they're the best. I think they're the bee's knees. I love you guys so much. I love you big time. Thank you for all of your support. And again, thank you for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope I'm not alone in this. It's just, this is such a weird, shapeless career that I've found myself in. And every time I'm reminded that I can shape it to be what I want, I am overwhelmed by the choices and decisions and opportunities laid out in front of me that I need to decide between. And so every time I do make any big changes to my job or like the structure of what I do, it feels awful and strange. But I remember that like I'm so grateful that this is what I get to do. And so I am going to take the opportunities that I have to make it into something that really truly works for me and serves me. And if something no longer serves me, we switch it up. We switch it up on them, which is what I'm doing. So we'll see. We'll see what lies ahead. I will see you on the flip side. We'll talk soon. Take care of yourself. Be kind to each other. And I'll catch you later. Bye. So do you like my Boss Rush shirt? I love this sweatshirt. Boss Rush. Tiny little Maury. Yeah. Cool. Stay frosty. Talk soon. Bye.